Hi, I'm Dean. This video is about time. Now, we hear about time as being linear or non-linear. Now, traditionally we're taught time is linear, where we have yesterday and today and tomorrow. And in spiritual teachings and stuff, we're taught that time is non-linear. And it's a bit of a contradiction, because we know that yesterday we did stuff and today we're doing stuff and then tomorrow we're going to do stuff as well. And we also look at history in this way, and looking a little bit deeper into the subject, looking at ancient history or past lives or that sort of thing, of 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and that's what created things today. So we can see that, and including the way that we use calendars, so we can see that we've got a linear progression of events that happen that lead up to today, and we have memory of what we did yesterday and the day before and a few years ago, but we don't have memory of what is going to happen in a week's time. So this is the kind of concept of linear time. But then you start looking at the metaphysical stuff. You start looking at the spiritual kind of teachings, and dudes will start talking about time being like circular and spherical and stuff, and multi-dimensional, and then you find things like living multiple lifetimes at the same time, parallel lives type of thing. And when you look into subjects such as hypnotherapy, past life regression, that sort of thing, you can kind of get a glimpse about how people can access images of themselves or things that they're connected to in other times and locations. And the subject of kind of time travels there as well. And then looking at the non-linear side of things, you can understand that people may have premonitions and psychic visions of future events that do come true. And sometimes also when you have like a clairvoyant reading, a medium reading, or something like that, you can be speaking to, communicating with spirits that can see your future timelines or timeline possibilities. So there's a kind of a bit of a sliding scale in this whole subject. So how can time be linear and non-linear at the same time? So I'm going to describe the concept by using a tool. I'm going to use a book. Now, this is a book I haven't actually read yet, but I thought it would be the most appropriate book to use as a prop. Now, this book is your entire existence. This is everything that you are. This is your story. This is your story, your book. Okay, we each have a book, and of course, really every book that we have as our own book, as our own storybook, is contained within a bigger book. Now, inside the book we have chapters. So I'm just going to open randomly to a page, and you can see we've got a page open, and on the page are words. So we'll be a few chapters into the book, and if you imagine reading the book, so you hold the book up and you're looking at the book, and you zoom right into the book, you zoom right in, and you focus on one word, that one word is the present moment now in your life. That one word. And in a few moments, you'll be going to the next word. Now, you know, we're about a third of the way into this book at this page here at the moment. So we have access in our memory of what we read a couple of pages before, but we can't see that. It's only memory. All we can see is what's on the page here, and since we're so close to it, we can only see one word. Now, as we continue reading in a linear fashion from left to right in the sequence of the words, we are reading a bit of a sentence. We're painting a bit of a picture about our perception of what's on the current page. Now, when we're focused right on that word, right on that sentence that's right here on this page in front of us, when we can't see the page, we can't see the next page, and we can't see the previous page. These are the only pages that even exist. You know, if you look at this book, these 2 pages are the only pages that exist in this whole book, from the perspective of the camera, right? From where you can see right now. In fact, if it's close enough, you can't even see that the book has a cover. So if you can't see it, it can't be there, right? So that's kind of a part of the concept. Now, you can stop reading for a second and you can think about what was on the last page, but you can't read it. You can only really read what's on this page. Now, what happens when you die is you get to a page between chapters, which is like that page there that I just turned to, right? And you've basically got a page which is it's pretty cool. You've basically got you've got a break in between the two chapters, and from there you can, you know, a lot of people have a bit of a rest between chapters. You can kind of review the chapter that you just finished reading, and you can look at the title of the next chapter, and you can kind of get an idea about what the next chapter of the book's going to be about. And then when you're ready, you start reading the next chapter again, and that's kind of like another lifetime, another incarnation that you may have. So that's a bit of a metaphor, I suppose, about how this thing works. Now, once you start reading, you're focused again on that word that you're reading, on that sentence that you're reading, and you're not really aware of the rest of the book, you know, as I was kind of showing before. This is actually a pretty cool book. I'm going to have to read this thing. The big picture is that it's a whole book, right? This whole book. So the word that you were reading just before in the present moment is within this one book right now. You know, as I'm holding the book, everything is within it. So that, you know, chapter 2 and chapter 4 both exist at the same time. Right? They both exist at the same time as I'm holding the book up, because they're both in there. The thing that gives you the illusion of it being linear time is when you open the book and you go to the page and you zoom right into the book, and you can't see anything else, and then you start reading and you read it in sequence. That's what linear time is. So that's how things can be non-linear and linear at the same time. That's kind of what we do when we incarnate into a body. We want to read the book word by word, rather than just looking at the cover and going, oh yeah, that's a pretty cool book, that's about blah 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 blah, it's a bit of an adventure, you know, the hero's journey, one could say. But it's one thing to hold a book and say, okay, this book's about the hero's journey, which is the ultimate journey, which is really what the whole point of living is, pretty much. Actually reading it, one word at a time, word by word, is the experience of living that story. And that's kind of why we do that incarnation sort of thing, and that's why we kind of see time stretching out, because we're focused right in. Now, the next level of that understanding is enlightenment. It's the perspective shift that people have, that spiritual teachers and stuff talk about. Now, what that is you've opened your book to a page, and you may have had, it's the same one as before, and you may have had an experience. You know, you may have been in a trance, or you may have been, you know, hypnosis, or you may have taken some drugs, or you might have been really suicidal, or had a near-death experience, or something like that. And that experience that you had may have pushed your face away from the book. So you're zooming right in, reading a word, and suddenly you step back a little bit and you're like, oh, wow, I can see this is, there's a book and there's other pages. You see, you can start to see that there's other pages, and you're like, oh, this actually starts making a bit more sense now. You know, my life has a little bit more meaning, because I can see that today's page is just a page of a book, and it's just one little frame of a whole story, and the whole story is pretty awesome. But we lose track of that, we lose sight of that when we zoom back in again to the individual words, because we're not looking at it as a whole, we're not looking at it as a whole book again. So that's kind of what those kind of semi-enlightening sort of experiences are. But someone that's kind of practicing that, or kind of unleashed that a little bit, can read a book from an arm's length away and look at a whole sentence at a time, for example, and know that they're reading just a part of the book, which is being present in the moment, but also can see the whole, can see the paragraph ahead and the paragraph behind, and can even potentially flick a couple of pages while they're at arm's length. Whereas if you're zoomed right in to the book and focusing just on one word, you can't turn a page because your head's in the way. Well, that was really clever, actually, because your head's in the way. That was smart. Now, life is full of distractions. Life is full of things that keep us focused on one word at a time in our kind of metaphorical book. So our challenge is to take a step back. Now, it's not about not reading the book anymore. You know, a lot of people think that when you're, you know, when you're having a kind of consciousness awakening type of thing, you're no longer reading the book, and that's not correct. You still read the book, but you're reading it from a little bit further back, and you can see kind of the bigger picture. And from that perspective, you can understand why certain things happen in your life a lot easier and a lot better than you can when you're zoomed right in, because you're just stuck in the moment. Whereas if you've got a broader perspective, you can kind of remember, okay, well, there's a chapter over there, and there's a character over there, and it connects up to this, and then this will happen in the next chapter, and that sort of thing. And you can kind of browse a little bit more of the whole story. And in a way, you can even choose when to turn the page and when to what chapters to read. You know, you can stop there and you can go and read another chapter for a little bit, which is, you know, something you can do in hypnosis.
I'm actually quite interested in this book now. There's a lot more pictures and things than I thought there were. I don't think I've actually ever opened it, because I tended to collect the books for me to read while I'm in the mountains here. That's about all I'll say about time and the book. I'm most likely going to start reading it this afternoon now, which is kind of funny. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, so you can be emailed links to any new videos that are being posted. There's not a lot of videos that get posted, but when they do, you'll be informed of them, which is pretty cool. So yeah, thank you for listening, and of course ask any questions that you may have in the comment section below. Thanks.